As you can see right here, we can build a sniper rifle build that it can one-shot. As you can see right in here, the final boss of the game, this is UV4. I'm not doing this on UV5 because I haven't done the wildcard to unlock the UV5, but it would still be the same result. It can still one-shot this boss. However, for us to achieve this, it's like a situational thing that we're going to be able to do over and over and over and over and over again. You will see that on the second part, we're still dealing the same amount of damage. Technicalities, we do not need to one-shot the boss, we can still laser beam through the health bar. It's not like something that you're going to be able to do once. It's just that it's so powerful. I just wanted to demonstrate that you can one-shot the endgame bosses on UV4, but still you will have sustainable damage, and that is what we're going to be doing now. I spent the last couple of days farming until I manage to get something that I like with this build. If we manage to kill bosses just like that, is because I have min-maxed to the best of the extent of my knowledge this build, but I also wanted to make something that's reliable that you can use while exploration. And that is what this build is going to allow you to do, because as you can see right in here, I do want to say that you can use this build with whichever weapon that you would like to use. It's still going to be amazing. The whole gist of things right in here is to deal damage, critical hit damage. The critical hit damage is going to proc bleeding. The bleeding is going to bleed out the enemies, and that is going to be massive and tremendous amounts of damage. I like to use sniper rifles because, as you can see right in here, the overall idea of sniper rifles is dealing critical headshots. And if you do critical headshots, then that means that you're going to instantly apply the bleeding. We're going to use that one knife that everyone is aware of right now to pump up damage that much more. But as a general build, you have a sniper that is also very survivable, because based on the amount of damage and the bleeding that you're dealing, you're also going to be healing yourself, and that's going to give you infinite survivability. You're going to be immortal, you're going to be undying, that undying sniper that is going to be attacking from a distance. Whenever you do manage to pop up like a mini boss or a badass, you just throw them a knife, because you're more than likely not going to one-shot them in the head. You're not going to one-tap it like the rest of the enemies that we have right in here. Tap them, one knife, and then continue doing your stuff. And like I mentioned, this is a build that I managed to min-max to the best of my knowledge and the extent of the weapons that I like to use, but there's a couple of things that you can tweak as well if you so desire to, and if you so want to. I also did make this to be as accessible as possible. I do want to mention that on the higher difficulties of the UB, this is a build that you can still use to fight bosses without this one knife that everyone is familiar with. So let me explain to you what is going on, what you're seeing right in here on screen. Why is this happening? So essentially, your damage, those millions and millions and millions of damage that you're going to have right in there, is going to be dependent on three major things. The initial damage that you deal, which is what we're going to be building on, and this is going to be a build for farming bosses as well, that you can one-shot. You do not necessarily need to one-shot them, but you can if you want to be as fast as possible. So the initial damage of the whole thing, your bleeding is going to be also substantial to the critical damage and the gun damage of your character. I believe I might be mistaken in here, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that it is also going to be elemental damage. But the major three things that you want to consider when it comes to the actual damage of the first shot that we're doing, it's the base damage that you're dealing, the first base damage that you're dealing, the gun damage percentage, and your critical hit damage. Which is why a lot of people are using the Hot Slugger with this build, which is a shotgun that you will see, that you will notice that it actually does deals more damage than the actual sniper rifle that I'm using. But I do want to add a little bit more of accessibility to everything else right in here. You also notice that I have less damage on this sniper rifle, and this is a sniper rifle that I got while I was leveling up. I believe that I also got this from a vending machine or from a mangy enemy. And as you can see right in here, it's level 49, and that's why it's not as good as this shotgun right in here. We also have a level 50 right in here that we're going to talk about the synergies about these guys. The next thing that you are going to need, and yeah, this is also very situational, this is something that you are going to need to get either from a vending machine or exploring the world, or your chest, red chests, after beating a boss, you need amp. And what amp does, it basically increases the damage of the next shot by 200%. Now when it comes to the shields that I'm using right in here, it really depends on you. If you want to have a little bit more of AoE, you can by all means use the fireworks that we have right in here, but you could also be using the Timekeeper's new shield, and as you can see I have two of them right now. The Timekeeper's new shield, it's basically what it is going to give you more survivability if you don't have shield, because you're not going to be regenerating your shield, you're going to be regenerating your health, and that it is going to reduce the damage taken by 33%, which is huge, and that's what's going to give you more survivability. And you can by all means, but if you want to have more AoE, you can use, like for example, the fireworks. And with the fireworks, this is also something that you are going to need to get as a general loot, because I haven't been able to manage to find a boss that drops this guy. So looking for vending machines or just farming bosses in general, we have the Teen Witch, which it can come with several different things. This is why I was telling you that I wasn't sure that this is going to increase the damage, but I think that it is also going to be always, at all times, going to be coming with lifesteal. I have elemental damage right in here, plus 25%, but you want to have gun damage, ideally gun damage or status effect damage, because those are things that I know for sure that increase the damage of the overall thing that we're doing right in here. And like I mentioned, I haven't managed to completely min-max everything that I want to have right in here, but ideally, if you're lucky enough, you're the luckiest person in the world, you want to have a Jacob's enhancement, because that it is going to increase, or depending on the weapon that you're using, your weapon has to be kinetic. So I believe that also the mild ones are kinetic damage, but I like to use the Jacobs either for shotguns or for pistols, which I have everything that you see me doing right in here using its Jacobs, because I like the kinetic damage that you have right in here. And they also ricochet projectiles whenever you deal critical hits. And if you're using your throwing knife, that everyone is aware of this guy, then you're always going to be having those shots right in there. Now, going back to this thing, if you were to have a Jacob's enhancements that has gun damage increased by 25% and also status effect damage, that would be the ideal, most broken, most powerful thing that you would ever have, and that's like the maximum. I have been farming for something like that for the past 3 days. I have not been able to get it, but that's the goal for min-maxing this build. I was telling you about my sniper rifle that I'm using all throughout the gameplay that we have right in here. I do not have a boss either on where to farm this guy. I believe that no one has found a boss where you can find this guy, so it's going to be dependent on getting it from a vending machine or from a mangy enemy, just a random regular enemy out there. You will see that this one isn't even level 50, but you don't necessarily need to, even when you're losing a whole bunch of DPS with this guy right in here. The ideal thing that we want to have is the base actual shot, and yes, this is going to have 2k more, but 6k damage with a regular sniper rifle, it's not really that bad. And I believe that this is also one with poor stats, so one of the basic purple ones can reach up to 7k damage. I'm not sure if this is the maximum damage that this guy can get to, but that would be your goal as well, trying to farm a truck, which would be coming from looking out for the vending machines or your weekly events or your red chests or every single thing out there. That's where you're going to be farming for the truck right in here. Now, if we go back to the Teen Witch right in here, the basic stuff in here, it applies to the maximum shield if you already have the maximum health. Going back to overshield if you already have your maximum shield. So this is why you would be using instead the fireworks right in here, and that is only if you would want to have a little bit more AoE. If you feel that you're struggling, this guy right in here is going to give you much more power for everything. So this is ideally how the setup for the items would be looking like. Now let's talk about the skills. There's a couple of things that you could also tweak around here, and but I'm going to quickly run through everything that you need to know about this. You will also notice that I have one extra point right in here. I believe this is the extra one that I have, and that is because I did not need this point for anything else. You might have better ideas on how to improve the damage of this guy right in here, but this is going to be the ultimate synergy for us to prepare that ultimate one-shot shot that you that famous one shot that you can see right in here. So this is not really that important, but I like to have the extra reload speed because I'm using a sniper rifle, and if you're using the shotgun, if you're using the shotty, you do want to be on the face of the enemy as much as you can. So that is for sure nice. This is where things get interesting, because the gun and skill critical hits, they have a chance to apply bleeding, and this is what's going to determine whether or not you are going to actually be able to one-shot one things or not, depending on how you set up your shot. So sometimes you will, sometimes you'll not, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. But essentially, every time that you deal damage to anything, it's going to apply 30% of your total gun damage. Also, this is going to be from your critical hit damage, because it is going to be able to critical hit because of the knife, and the chance is going to be 50%. And this can actually stack, so you don't necessarily, it's going to be like, that's why it's going to be tickling and tickling and tickling and tickling a little bit more every time that you do a critical hit. Because since the bleeding is going to be a critical hit thanks to the knife, that's why we're ramping up the numbers that much more, and that's why you can one-shot things if you manage to set up everything properly. It all relies on this one single skill right in here, and the knife. This is going to increase your kinetic damage, your kinetic status effect damage, which is going to be bleeding, I believe. And then also we have the Grey Vitality, which is just for extra survivability. This is actually one of the next things that it is going to allow us to manage to get that beautiful, beautiful one-shot that everyone is looking for. So every time that you use a rep kit, you have a gunshot that will become a bloodshot, meaning that that's going to be dealing bonus damage depending on the percentage of the health that you have at that time. Since you're always going to be at full health with this guy right in here, this is plus 50% damage. So you use your skill, you use your rep kit, and that's going to give you flat 200% from the rep kit. Remember this one right in here, that we have the amp increase damage on the next shot by 200%, so make that 250, and I'm not sure if that's actually additive, so it could be more potentially. And then we also have the Blood is Power, which you're going to receive a bonus kinetic damage with guns based on your lifesteal when your health is full. And yeah, that's extra a little bit more damage. We're also going to have right in here the Conjunction, which is going to increase the gun damage the more full your shield is. But it's also going to give you damage reduction depending on how much health are you missing. So that's going to be that much more additive with the one that we have from the Timekeeper's shield. So this is more survivability. Like at the end of the day, everything comes from this guy right in here. This is everything. But also we have the enchantment, because now that we have set up everything like so, we want to spend points in places that are going to increase our damage, and that is going to be bonus kinetic damage with guns while your action skill is active. And whenever you actually activate your action skill, that's going to give you plus 37% more bonus damage that is going to be going additive to your extra one-shot build that you're trying to make. And then we have the Cold Iron to increase the gun damage right in here, just flat 15%. Remember that this guy right in here is going to add to the actual bleeding status effect because it scales out of the gun damage percentage. And then finally, for the specializations that you have right in here, we have the Brute, which is going to increase your gun damage by 26%. And then also we have the Killer, which is going to increase your critical hit damage by 26%. Whenever you use the shield, this is always going to be active, so that it is going to be more percentage based in damage, that it is going to be going additive to the overall humongous amount of damage that you're dealing. For the rest of everything, we have the Contamination right in here, which increases the status effect application chance per stack. We don't really care that much about this one, other than the stack duration. But what we do want to increase is the enemies take increased damage for each status effect applied to them. It's extra little nice things. And then we have the In the Zone, which every time that you're aiming your weapon, you're going to gain a stack of damage percentage to a maximum of 5. So that's a 25% more gun damage that it is going to be going additive to your bleeding damage that we deal for that one shot. So as you can see right in here, the actual specializations, you don't really need to worry that much about this, even though that I have been farming like a maniac. There's a whole lot of places where you can farm for upper levels pretty easily. This is not going to be a major thing that it is going to be contributing to the everything that you have already. This is just going to increase your damage just a little bit with the amount of percentage damage that we have right in here, like 26%. And remember that this is where you start getting trade-offs. So if you see me investing into Survivor right in here, it's because it's very difficult to go beyond 25%. So at level 50 I just stopped caring about this guy right in here to increase a little bit more damage in here. But I mean, I'd say that this is far more important. I'd say that by going with the actual statement that if we believe that the status effect damage is going to increase the bleeding damage, then that's going to be increased by the critical hit damage and by the status effect damage every time that you use the knife. So this would be the most valuable for you. That your first 50 levels should be going right in here into the killer, but you do have to invest some points into brute for you to be able to to get the killer, and you also need to invest some points into sharpshooter to get the killer. But yeah, killer should be your major focus while you're leveling up your specializations. So with all of that said and done, with the gameplay that you see me using right in here, you will notice that just for regular gameplay we can one-shot everything in UV4 with our sniper rifle, and we never die, because with the amount of damage and accumulated damage that we're dealing for the critical hit chance and the critical damage bonus and the gun damage percentage and so on and so forth and what have you, that's why we're just killing everything out there, and they cannot kill us, because every time that we deal damage we gain overheal, we have lifesteal, we are undying, and that for exploration is very, very valuable, especially if you're using the fireworks, which is going to reduce the amount of time that it takes you to kill things. It's not that it gets more like difficult, but yeah, like the fireworks can kill things for you just fine. And then I didn't mention it, but that accumulated damage for the critical hit chance and the stacks are going to be adding up whenever you use also a, for example, let's say an assault rifle, because remember that there's going to be 20 stacks. However, that's where things start to get interesting, because you actually you can reach a maximum of 20 stacks. A assault rifle, as you can see right in here, is going to be more than enough for you to spray the health bar of everything. But if you want to min-max everything and you do want to deal the most amount of damage possible, then you would want to be using like a shotty or a sniper rifle and prepare the actual most powerful shot. And the way to do so is use your skill, which is going to increase the first damage because of the bloodshot, and then use a rep kit, and then throw a knife. The knife is not going to use either bloodshot nor the rep kit bonuses, and then you shoot either from your sniper rifle or from your shotgun, and that first shot is the one that is going to be calculating the most of everything for the bleeding chance, and that is why you can see this guy dying in one single shot right in here. But this is also based on chance as well, because it might just be the case that the first shot is not going to actually activate the status effect application, and you have to wait until the second shot. And that is just pure mathematics for fun, you know, because like I mentioned, as you can see right in here, you can just keep shooting and everything is just going to die. This is just for fun and to see how much can we increase the damage of everything. If you like the content, like and the video, super appreciate it, and also you today, you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, join Discord, have you full day, goodbye.